So we're so delighted that Margie Loving has moved into the center and brought her amazing work with her. You're a B.E.S.T practitioner, a Reiki master, a former professor. The list goes on, right? Yeah. So just put your hands together and welcome Margie Loving to the center and to this evening's talk.
Thank you. Thanks, Peggy. First of all, I'd like to say I'm so grateful to be a part of the Houston A.R.E. Center. I moved my office here about a month ago, and I love it. I've been a student of Edgar Cayce's for a long time, probably at least 30 years. And there's extremely knowledgeable people here, and I'm so looking forward to being a part of this community. I'm a B.E.S.T practitioner, and that stands for Bioenergetic Synchronization Technique. Has anybody here ever heard of it? No? Well, it is a technique that was developed by a chiropractor, and interestingly enough, it came to him in his dreams, very much like Edgar Cayce's work. He, about 40 years ago, started developing B.E.S.T, finding that there was so much more to healing the body than just the physical, and working with the magnetic flow in the body, and has added to it for the past 40 years. Now, I found B.E.S.T about 2.5 years ago when I experienced a tremendous healing. I had had panic attacks for some time, and they were getting worse as I was dealing with some issues in my life, in particular dealing with my ex-husband and trying to protect my daughter, and the panic attacks increased. And I had a B.E.S.T treatment, and within 15 minutes, I know the panic attacks were healed right then, within 15 minutes. After years and years and years of trying alternative healing, different, traditional types of medicine, nothing had helped. And that really got my attention. So I learned how to do B.E.S.T, and what it does is it works with the subconscious memory, because what had happened when I was a little girl, I was having a wonderful day and enjoying myself, and what had happened is what they call a bushwhack. You're happy, and all of a sudden something very shocking happens to you. This boy did something that was very shocking. It wasn't terrible, it was just traumatized me. And an adult probably wouldn't have thought anything of it, but it affected me. So over the years, it just kept growing in my subconscious memory as something that was still happening, and I was still reacting to it. And as I said, nothing had helped me resolve this issue until I found B.E.S.T. Because B.E.S.T goes back and finds in your subconscious memory where the trauma occurred, removes it, replaces it with a positive energy so that the body can heal itself. And then the subconscious memory is reset to not reacting. Now, if that had happened to an animal, say, for example, a gazelle. Say a gazelle is being chased by a lion, okay? The autonomic system is set off, their adrenaline's rushing, they're running for their life, okay? That's the appropriate action. That's the appropriate response. Now, when that gazelle makes it to safety and is enjoying eating some grass with the rest of the herd, it is completely relaxed, calmed down, and over the whole trauma of having to run for its life. Because they don't have the capacity to think and judge, and they, humans can think and judge and have more conscious abilities than animals. So the natural response was, oh, well, it's not happening, so they're relaxed and they're never going to have that adrenaline rush again until they have to. But in a human being, we have the capacity to think and feel and judge and cause things to stay in our memory because of how we felt and thought about it. And that's why there's, in the 7 essentials that I use in my holistic approach, is one of them is forgiveness and taking responsibility for making the choice to have that reaction to or the response to whatever happened. And either forgiving ourselves or forgiving the other person, actually both, so that so that it's released from our experience. And that's actually kind of a cosmic law that's required. Forgiveness is required because we have the ability to choose. So when we're born as a perfect ball of energy, and Creator, God, whatever you want to call it, Source, is always flowing perfect energy to us so that we're perfectly provided with everything we need. And then in our life, we have thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that cause the interference to that perfectly flowing energy in our bodies. And how that impacts us is that it causes illness, it causes emotional problems, or it causes problems, in our ability to deal with our life on a daily basis. And as I said, B.E.S.T. So when somebody says, well, how do I know I need B.E.S.T? Well, you know you need B.E.S.T if you have a chronic issue that nothing else has been able to resolve. It can look like an emotional problem. It can be a chronic pain, a back pain, a neck pain. It can be a panic attack. It can be, general depression. It can be anything that's throwing you off balance is what B.E.S.T is really good at finding the subconscious memory that is blocking your perfect flow of energy. So when we remove it, the energy flows again and the body can heal itself and restores the balance. I've had my holistic practice for a few years now, and before that, I've been a licensed massage therapist for over 26 years. What do you do when you graduate from the University of Texas with a bachelor's? You go and get a massage license, a bachelor's in psychology. I went and got a massage license. I taught Montessori in the morning and a little Montessori school, and then I had my massage practice in the afternoons. I was about 22, and I started seeing energy in people's bodies, and it really kind of, it was kind of startling at first. And a psychic said, oh, your third eye's open, you're a healer, you're just learning how to use your abilities. And it kind of scared me, but I started healing people, and then people started coming to me with really serious illnesses. And that really scared me. I mean, dying babies and all sorts of illnesses. So I have continued with keeping my license in healing, but I went back to school, and I ended up with a PhD in education, and I loved teaching. And when I had my second child, I stopped teaching and continued on with my healing practice, and I taught Reiki and for a while, and now I'm doing B.E.S.T. So I guess from my conservative approach, it's been an interesting pathway to being a full-out Edgar Cayce office building practitioner, and that's kind of how I got here. Does anybody have any questions about B.E.S.T or anything?
Really quickly, were you able to keep using your abilities and use them with B.E.S.T? Are you still seeing those auras? Are you still seeing that energy?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I work on the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional levels. And B.E.S.T works on all of those levels because I use muscle testing to find out which is actually asking the subconscious yes or no questions, and to find out, so it's kind of like being a detective. You find out where the issue is for the person when it occurred. It could have happened, I had a client the other day, had severe panic issues that occurred 4 lifetimes ago. And so we went back and healed it, corrected the subconscious memory from that lifetime. And it was a tremendous healing for her. Sometimes I use over 26 years, you learn, I kept up with lots of healing modalities. So I use theta healing, I use SRT, I used the Sonoma method the other day if it's a mental issue. It just depends on what level where the issue ended up kind of being a problem for the person. So, and I feel, guided. So mostly I just kind of surrender and hear and am guided to what the person needs. And kind of, I intend that the highest and best manifests for the person. And then I'm guided. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Well, it sounds like with your skill set, you could deal with a lot of medical diagnoses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is there any that you specialize in?
No. No, it's very interesting. I do get a lot of autoimmune disease issues because that is something that, of course, medicine finds incurable because there's its severity is, there's really no rhyme or reason to why it's so severe for some people and why it's not for others, why it even exists. And, typically I'll find that there's a subconscious memory that could be in this lifetime or another one that is causing the interference. As I said, that perfect flowing energy got cut off somewhere, and we have to remove the interference, and then the body can heal itself. Now, it does take a few sessions because when you are changing the neural pathways that have created a habit in the body, there's already a chemistry that has a habit of being that way, then it takes a few sessions to kind of groove a new road and create new neural pathways that are more healthy and positive for the person. So it's not, oftentimes it's not just one treatment. It can be 3 or 4 depending on the person. So, yeah. Yes?
I was curious, in your experience with different types of patients and with different types of conditions, do you ever have somebody that you work with that just has a really difficult time accepting that maybe there's something that is in their subconscious that is harder for them to really believe that? And does that affect your ability to work with them effectively?
Yes. It's definitely, a dance. We have to be working together. I do give homework. Now, it's much like Reiki in the way that, Reiki, you can heal somebody, and if they don't accept the healing, it'll just go right back to where it was. However, with B.E.S.T, you can correct the subconscious issue, and that won't go back, but the person's habits that they've developed because of it won't change if they're not interested in changing their life. Because, if you want your life to change, you have to change your life. It's a conscious effort. And we have, the 7 essentials are what you think, what you eat, what you drink, forgive, what you breathe, how you exercise, and how you sleep. And what you think is the most important. So if they're not willing to change their thought patterns in their life, then, I have seen that happen. There's nothing you can do until they're ready. Sometimes they're just not ready, and then they come back later. Good questions.
What about scoliosis?
I have treated scoliosis, and it's And I've seen it, you know, I've seen a person who was born with their feet like this, and that's all her life in her 30s, and correcting itself. So it's, you know, it depends on the person. They have to be willing to receive the healing. But yeah, it's absolutely possible. I mean, I hadn't seen an X-ray of her back, and I don't know if her back, you know, was curved and how it affected. But that was the measurement that I had.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
How about eyesight?
Eyesight.
Eyesight, nearsightedness, myopia.
Uh, you know, that's a good question. I have not dealt with that. I would have to muscle test the person's body to see if B.E.S.T would be something that would help them.
Emotional relationship, or probably something emotional, right? It's gotta be all start with the emotion, the thinking and the emotion. Before the thinking was the emotion, the instincts, right? If you could use your technique to get to that.
The moment that
That's kind of-
the interruption occurred, yeah. So it's an interruption to your perfect flowing energy from God or Source. It gets interrupted by a feeling or a thought or judgment, and depending on, you know, the severity of it, you know, it affects you in different ways and different places in your body, depending on what's going on, where your weaknesses are. So, yeah. I'm getting the wrap-up sign here. So thank you so much for coming, and I look forward to talking to you some more.